This video is dedicated to Kanaka Maoli, Lahaina, and everyone affected by the wildfires on the island of Maui. Please visit the resources in the description below to donate. Anything helps. Thank you. Directed by Dhanji and Michael Philippou, Talk to Me is about teens who can't stop chasing the high. But that high isn't from drugs. It's from a haunted, embalmed hand that when you hold it and speak the words, "Talk to me," a spirit appears right in front of you. If you then say, "I let you in," that spirit possesses you. This video is split into 5 sections, so feel free to use the chapters below. The breakout horror hit of the summer is a story of grief, spectacle, adolescence, and closure. It's done incredibly well at the box office, and A24 has already greenlit a sequel. This film was made by 2 brothers who got big posting videos on the internet. A YouTube channel that started with teaching a kid how to fight. We don't know where the hand came from, but we can certainly see the damage that it does. One evening, the main character, Mia, who's still grieving the death of her mother, takes a spin on the old demon hand and goes for a little too long. See, there are 2 rules. You cannot go for more than 90 seconds, and you must blow out the candle to shut the door, essentially kicking the spirit out of your body. If a spirit stays for too long, it can take hold. As Joss says, if you die while they're in you, they'll have you forever. An indie horror film is exactly what the summer needed. If you haven't seen the trailer, don't watch it. Best to go in blind. This movie is one of those instances where you don't want to look at it, but you can't look away. Do I recommend seeing it? Absolutely. My final rating will be at the end of the video. With that said, I can't talk much about this movie without giving things away. If you don't want any spoilers, click off now. If you've already seen it or you just don't care, walk with me. Watching this movie was an interesting experience. I didn't know what to expect, and what I got was loud, intimate, and overwhelming. At the core of this film is its cast. There was chemistry, you could tell they were having fun, and that energy translated to screen. We got some standout moments from Miranda Otto, who made me laugh a lot more than I expected, Otis Dhanji, who brought the film down to earth, and Zoe Terakes, who served that snarky fun friend who's a true ride or die, unless you're getting possessed. Joe Bird, who plays Riley, knocked it out of the park, especially for someone his age, and delivered a truly terrifying scene that I'm still thinking about. The centerpiece of this film is Sophie Wilde's Mia. Sophie plays her with such delicacy. She approaches her with patience and understanding. It's easy for main characters to get caught up in all the action of horror movies, but Sophie manages to give us a clear picture of who Mia is while recognizing that she's going through unusual circumstances. While it's easy for us to sit back and criticize the actions of some of these dumbass people in these scary movies, like, bitches, don't go towards the scary noise. We need to go away. If we were put in those situations, we might act like the characters we're criticizing. When faced with fear, no one is innately going to make all the right decisions. Sophie commands the screen, and I'm so glad the boys casted her and not a big name player. They sacrificed $1 million in the budget, but gained a performance that will be remembered for years to come. The sound design. Too loud, girl, too loud. Mostly the sound effects as they collided with objects like smashing Jade in the head, Mia slapping herself repeatedly, and the head bashing. But that one makes sense. That feels intentional. It's jarring. It definitely woke up that old man in row C who's been snoring for the last 5 fucking minutes. When it came to atmosphere and music, though, it was placed at just the right time. The swirling water motif when Mia sees her mom. The drowned-out, isolating ambiance when she meets up with the group after the toe-sucking. The hard-hitting hip-hop that reminds us where we are and who we're hanging out with. Makeup was awesome. It was nasty and just real enough. The eye twitch of the drowned lady that goes off to the side. The charred skin. The bloody, bruised, and swollen face after Riley's possession. Wow. The cinematography by Aaron McCliskey vibes nicely with the playful and intense energy the story provides. One of my favorite shots is this beautifully lit rain scene of Mia staring out into the distance. It's so hard to capture scenes like this. Aaron's shots are somber yet full of motion when they need to be. Like another favorite shot of mine, Daniel swinging like a pendulum from left to right, and the tracking shot of Mia's possession. It all feels so visceral. Danny and Michael are a wild pair that seem to have been born with cocaine flowing through their veins. Every appearance they make is filled with this tangible energy that's infectious. They're immediately endearing, you just can't help but love them, and that translates on screen. You can tell how much care Danny and Michael put into this film. They went practical as much as they could because despite so many movies heavy-handedly using CGI these days, there's just nothing like the real thing. They work from their gut, which is contrasted by their previous work, which had to be heavily choreographed since it involved so much stunt work. The brothers have said they work off instinct. If it feels right, it happens. It's how they operated on set and in the editing room. The way they work reminds me of how another director worked, the iconic man who directed The Exorcist who just passed, rest in peace, William Friedkin. There are countless breakdowns where film buffs analyze foreshadowing, symbolism, and exposition. But in Leap of Faith, a documentary about the making of The Exorcist, William Friedkin says, most shots were just shots. There was no meaning assigned to them other than to assist the telling of the story. It goes to show just how interpretive art is. Even directors who can be some of the most intentional people on earth can put something out and it may be received completely differently. But that's the beauty of art. It doesn't just mean one thing. The boys brought a youthful, Aussie, refreshing take on horror that I loved. As much as one can love the misery that a horror film brings. The brothers shot this film around Hollywood, and when they finally found a studio that was down, they realized the best way to stay true to their vision was to take it back to Australia and get it produced independently. More and more executives have been taking control of productions, even though they have no true creative experience. They're dipping their fingers in pies they shouldn't even be in the kitchen to touch. Michael and Danny seeing their vision all the way to the end is so inspiring. And because of the success of this movie, they'll become respected and trusted names in this industry and hopefully will be working for a very long time. The screenplay written by Danny Philippou and Bill Hinzman, based on a concept pitched to them by Bluey producer Daley Pearson, explores themes of grief, addiction, connection, and closure. The boys were initially inspired by a video they saw of a close family friend having a seizure as a reaction to drugs he'd taken. Everyone was standing around taking videos of the guy on the ground seizing, and they were laughing. Part of what makes this movie so terrifying is that if this was happening, this is exactly how Gen Z would react. They grew up in the age of technology. They just can't help but pull their phones out when something interesting is happening and film it. Although laughing at someone having a seizure is pretty disgusting. It might be immaturity or not knowing how to react in a situation like that, but laughing and recording are certainly not the right things to do. Danny and Bill approach the slow scenes with a sensitivity and calmness that I admire, and the action scenes with gore, surprise, and brutality. Let's now talk theories. I have some thoughts, and you're gonna wanna hear this. Because I think I've got one theory that no one else has said so far. It's possible they have, okay? Don't fucking fact check me this moment, but I haven't heard it. And it came from here. So Mia was easy to possess because she was vulnerable. She had just celebrated her mom's passing of 2 years. She had the closest connection to the dead out of all the other teenagers, therefore she was the easiest to influence. What went from letting Riley go for 50 seconds quickly switched to as long as it takes, because the spirit knew just how to get to her through her mom. At the beginning of the movie, we meet Duckett, who's possessed. His brother Cole breaks into the room and catches him talking to something. Duckett then goes, "Pops says you're gonna hurt a lot of people." And then Cole goes, "Pop's dead." Duckett, like Mia, also lost someone very close to him, and it's possible he couldn't deal with his grief either, thus making his body easier to take over. It seemed like from the short conversation we heard between the brothers at the beginning that Cole had let go and moved on, while Duckett still had some grief to deal with. The movie also starts with Mia feeling a cold coming on. She sneezes at the sink when her dad is trying to talk to her, and then sneezes again when she's talking to Jade and Riley's mom, Sue, in the kitchen. Mia says, "Can you fix me?" Even she thinks she's broken. Sue says, "It's just a cold. You'll kick it." Which is quite sad because she literally does kick it. The bucket, that is. Talk to Me explores unfinished business. We see Mia end up in a dark realm some may call the in-between, the further, a limbo. Mia's running away from her grief just as her mom was running away from her depression. There's an argument to be made that this theme of unfinished business can apply to both the living and the dead of this film. Mia never properly dealt with her grief, which made her vulnerable to possession. The spirits are stuck in limbo because they were taken before they could resolve something on Earth. Now Mia's stuck in her own personal hell, and possibly the actual one, as she figures out how to deal with not only her unresolved mom grief, but the grieving of her own life. She sees Riley, Sue, and Jade walk out of the hospital, going about their lives, the ultimate form of FOMO, the fear of missing out. She also sees her dad getting into an elevator that's either taking him to heaven or, more likely, back down to Earth. Although, that bitch lost a lot of blood. She got him real good. And just as she's surrounded, alone in darkness, similar to how she felt at the beginning of the film, desperate, searching for connection, a light appears. It's the glow of someone ready to play a game that Mia now finds herself on the other side of. That's so sad. This one might be a little crazy. This is the one I was telling you about. The spirits that inhabit Riley and Mia are a couple. Stay with me. First of all, I don't think Mia was ever talking to her mom. When her mom is talking to her through Riley, it's a very quick transition between spirits, if that's what it is. It's not even as brutal as the other possessions we've already seen, which further convinces me that it's the same spirit acting as if there's a switch, not an actual switch taking place. It's just the spirit tricking Mia. It's a little meta, but I think you get it. Let's call the female water spirit, you know, that one with the pearls that crawls on the floor, Cheryl. And let's call the geriatric burnt man in the wheelchair Bob. Cheryl's and Mia, Bob's and Riley. Okay, we got it? The first time Mia's possessed, she says, "There he is. He's behind you now." She's referring to the geriatric spirit, Bob. She's like, "Hey, honey. Hey." When Riley goes under, Bob sees his chance to take Riley's body as he's young and vulnerable. He's also full of fear, which makes it even easier. Just the night before, he couldn't sleep because of the experience that he had just witnessed with the hand. Cheryl and Bob conspired to make all this shit happen, but the longer that Bob stayed in Riley, the more he lost his grip on the young boy's body. He definitely did some damage, but he underestimated just how strong Riley is. That's why we see Riley being fought over in Mia's vision. It's because Bob was losing him. You see, Bob isn't all that strong himself, so as he started to lose the grip on Riley, Riley was basically up for grabs again. Also, Mia's spirit, Cheryl, can sing in French, so that's kind of sickening. Cheryl completed her mission, but Bob didn't, so I'm sure they're having some big-ass fights in the afterlife. Daniel likes boys. He could just be super religious, but if the spirits are bringing out his true feelings, he's gushing, girls. He's bursting at the seams. While possessed, the horny spirit says, "He hates it when you touch him. You make him soft." It's possible he says that because women just don't do it for him. Or he could be a bi king, who knows? Daniel and Jade have been dating for 3 months and they still haven't kissed. After all, this is high school, so that's very possible. But y'all know how nasty boys are in high school, so I don't know how he's keeping all of that in. Talk about self-control. Here's another thought I had when Daniel was possessed. He looked right at Mia. What if that wasn't Daniel looking at Mia? What if it was Bob looking at Cheryl? We don't know where the hand came from, only the rumors that it's either the hand of a Satanist or a medium. The last time we see the hand is a shot of it sitting in Mia's house. It's possible that Jade took it when she found Max, Mia's dad, on the floor and got rid of it. But my theory is this. The hand that Mia grabs at the very end is the other hand. Oh yes, the right to the left. That is the other hand that's been out there floating somewhere, not the one we've gotten to know this whole movie. It may be in a completely different country, but that doesn't mean it's the one that Mia had. Which leads me to ask, where will the second movie take us? Will it focus on that second hand? Will we revisit Riley? Will we follow Mia as she attempts to get out of limbo? So initially, I wasn't sure if the spirit was truly out of Riley, but I guess maybe his body finally was strong enough to kick it out. Bye, Bob! Although, I have a feeling that the doors have been left open. There were multiple times in the movie where Jade yells at people to shut her door, and the second time it happens, her mom just says, "I'm leaving it open." Also, despite them trying to relight and blow, technically, the candle was never blown out. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Talk to Me's current worldwide box office gross is $55 million as of the weekend ending August 27th, 2023. Domestically, it's done $41 million on an estimated budget of $4.5. A24 has greenlit the sequel, which the brothers have admitted is basically written. I respect Danny and Michael so much for retaining creative control and ultimately never giving up. They fulfilled their childhood dream of making it to Sundance, which is when A24 came in and bought it. Oh yes, without edits. This paired with A24 tentatively agreeing to all the conditions of the WGA and SAG-AFTRA demands. It really says a lot about the kind of company they are. Now don't get me wrong, it's still a company, it's there to make money, but it seems like the people in power there are making the right decisions, whether it be for the look of it or because they actually do care about the artists they work with, which I hope it's the latter. I'm assuming Michael and Danny will be given the same creative freedom the second time around, because if they aren't, it may turn out to be a very different movie. I applaud the boys for never giving up and delivering the best horror film of 2023. Talk to Me is a surprising, bloody, visceral film that takes you on a search for connection and leads you to a place you never thought you'd end up. I give Talk to Me, see it now. If you like this, check out more of my reviews in the cards up there like Blue Beetle and Red, White, and Royal Blue, which is doing really well right now. Mahalo for watching. Until next time, see you at the movies. Bye.